Please make yourselves comfortable, and we're going to go ahead and get started in this beautiful new theater. So welcome, students, faculty, staff, partners, providers, community members, to this beautiful new Zing recital hall in Chico State's gorgeous new Arts and Humanities building. And we are honored to have each of you here for this very special evening. My name is Trisha Seastrom. I am the program director for the Campus Alcohol and Drug Education Center, which we lovingly call KDEC for short. Everybody heard of KDEC? Yay. Woo. And who can tell us, shout out where KDEC is located? SSC 180, correct. Hopefully that wasn't one of our staff. I am also a licensed advanced drug and alcohol counselor, and tonight's event is brought to you by KDEC and also the CSU Chico Collegiate Recovery Program. The event is the culmination of KDEC's Prescription Drug Awareness Week, which we implemented beginning about 4 years ago here at Chico State in response to the rapid rise in the misuse of prescription drugs and prescription drug overdose deaths across the country. First, I have to thank some very important individuals without whom tonight's event would not be possible. I'd like to start with an award-winning pediatrician, Chico State's medical chief of staff, my hero and mentor, who brings her passion for students struggling with substance use disorders and mental health concerns to everything she does. We can't thank her enough, Dr. Devore Stuart. Yes, she's amazing. We're so lucky to have her, and you can't leave in December. You know. That's the official proclamation. Next, I'd like to introduce two more very important, very special people, our KDEC professional team members. There's not a lot of us, right, ladies? 2.5 of us. First, I'd like to introduce Sadie LeBrier. She is an MSW, a social worker. And she, let's hear it for Sadie. There she is, right there. Sadie facilitates, among other things, a really important evidence-based program that we run through KDEC, which is called BASICS, Brief Alcohol Screening and Intervention for College Students, which is designed to reduce risky drinking amongst the college-age population. Thank you, Sadie. And next we have Kelsey Harrington. Without her better half from our admissions office, Jeff, I'm sure many of you know Jeff too. Kelsey is our prevention coordinator, and her and our wonderful peer educators really get all the credit for putting on all of the events and activities to raise awareness of prescription drug misuse and addiction throughout this week, and we hope you got to see some of their efforts across campus. Next, I'd really like to introduce the students that are responsible for tonight's event. They really took the lead and made this happen, as our students often do. First, let's save the applause for these particular students till the end, but if each of you could stand up when I say your name, that would be great. First, we have Ray Messenger. Ray is the president of our newly recognized Clean Cats Club and our recovery peer mentor for the past 2 years. And you're going to get to know Ray a little bit better later. Taylor Fensick is the treasurer of the Clean Cats Club and a senior office assistant at KDEC. She's been with us for 3 years, I think has one of the longest tenures on our team currently. Next is Brittany Wilkerson. There's Brittany. Brittany is also an office assistant at KDEC and has also been with us for 3 years. Next is Matt Espinoza. Matt facilitates one of our SMART recovery meetings each week. He's also a peer educator at KDEC. Next is Matthew Mesa. Matthew is also a SMART recovery facilitator and a peer educator at KDEC. Next is Iris Walter. There's Iris. Iris is also a SMART recovery facilitator out at University Village, and she is a health administration intern from the HCSB department. So we're lucky to have her too. Next is Austin Johnson. There's Austin down front. Austin is also a smart recovery facilitator, and he has been this year the most amazing MSW intern that I've ever seen, and has facilitated also a lot of our basics program. Next, we have Lindsay Lamonto. Lindsay is also a peer educator and a health education intern. And also Sydney Stevens. Lucky Sydney's going off to Paris to study this summer. So she'll be coming back to us hopefully when she finishes her year abroad. And she is a peer educator at Kheta. So these are the students that have been engaged with our collegiate recovery program who really did all the work and made tonight happen. And before we clap, I want to thank Daniel Beakey, who is Taylor's boyfriend. Daniel works in the academic advising office, and without Daniel, we would not have the PowerPoint capability tonight. Thank you, Daniel. All right, let's hear it for these students. Next, I need all of our other peer educators and office assistants to please stand up. We thank you and the other students for all that you do. You are the heart of KDEC, truly. You're the meaning and motivation behind all that KDEC does. And you are creating a safer, healthier, and more engaged campus community. So thank you. So why are we here tonight? Why are we all gathering on this particular subject? I'm sure many of us, including myself, have very personal reasons why we care so deeply about the issue of substance use disorders, particularly prescription drug misuse and dependence. Prescription drug misuse, in particular opioid misuse and dependence, is a public health epidemic, according to the Centers for Disease Control. That's one of the reasons why we're here. And I want to share some other statistics with you, starting nationally, to frame the problem. More Californians now die from drug overdoses than car accidents. More Americans now die of drug overdoses than car accidents as well. And more Americans die of drug-related deaths than gun violence. So as I like to say, guns are now safer than drugs. About 570,000 people die annually due to drug use. More than 20,000 of those die due to prescription drug misuse. In general, drug overdose deaths have been on the rise for the past 2 years, but the number of deaths from heroin use is up by 39%. Opioid prescribing seems to be fueling this epidemic, prescribing of prescription opioids. Today, nearly half of all opioid overdose deaths involve a prescription opioid. Nearly half. In 2015, more than 15,000 people died from overdoses involving prescription opioids. Each day, more than 1,000 people are treated in emergency departments for not using their prescription opioids as prescribed or misusing them. These government statistics illustrate the scope of the problem nationally. Sadly, Butte County is an epicenter. Butte County has the third highest drug-induced death rate in California among 58 counties, according to the California Department of Public Health. Last year, 68% of drug-induced deaths in Butte County were opioid-related. 68%. This is our problem. It affects us all. And that's why we're here tonight with some very special guests. Before I introduce them, I'd like to thank, we couldn't go on without thanking our many community partners who address this problem in our community as a whole every day and work with us to do that. We're very grateful to all of them. The Butte Youth Now Coalition, the Butte Glen Medical Society, Butte County Substance Abuse Prevention Task Force, Butte County Prevention, Butte County Behavioral Health, Butte County Public Health, the Enloe Medical Center, and our many wonderful providers and treatment centers such as Dr. Lundberg, Dr. Stark, Skyway House, Aegis, and many, many more. Please forgive me if I didn't list you by name. Thank you all again for being here. Now it is my pleasure to introduce to you, and I have to get to the correct page in my notes, forgive me, our most special guests. And I am thrilled to introduce to you now our featured guests, Aaron Rubin and his mother, Sherry. Since Aaron's overdose due to OxyContin in 2005, he and his family have participated in more than 375 drug prevention presentations and assemblies. They have been featured in countless news reports, documentaries, and public service announcements. Aaron is eager to share his story in the hope of preventing the challenges he lives with every day from happening to another young person. Aaron continues to work hard, regaining control of his body. He attends VIP Neuro 2 days a week, where he gets in machinery that helps him to walk. He rides horses in a therapy program 2 days a week to strengthen his balance and his core. 1 day a week, an occupational therapist comes to his home and works with Aaron on his upper body and his arms. Aaron also receives acupuncture treatments every week and has since he was in the ICU. The Rubin family has received a civilian commendation from the San Diego Sheriff's Department, a proclamation from the San Diego County Board of Supervisors, and they have been recognized by the U.S. Senate and Assembly, just to name a few. The Hope Together Foundation, founded by Sherry, received Prevention Education Program of the Year in 2013. Aaron received Prevention Educator of the Year in 2015. Yes. That's our special guest, and he's happy about that, and he deserved that honor. Aaron also received a proclamation from the County Board of Supervisors in 2015 as well, along with recognition from the Tierra Santa City Council. Recently, Aaron and Sherry spoke with the U.S. Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy, when Dr. Murthy released his historic and first ever report in January of this year on alcohol, drugs, and health in the United States. Aaron is as handsome and charming as ever and continues to thrive both physically and mentally, working tirelessly to become more independent. Aaron continues to educate others in hopes of preventing prescription substance use disorders, overdoses, and deaths through awareness and knowledge. Sherry and Michael, Aaron's dad, work daily to make each day the best day it can be for Aaron, themselves, and their family. Without further ado, I give you Sherry Rubin.
Hi. Well, thank you for that wonderful welcome. And thank you for having us here. I know Aaron's extremely excited to be back in the Chico Hood. He spent almost a year here before he came home. And we're very excited to share with you information that we have learned through our journey of Aaron's addiction and his overdose about prescription drugs and the disease of addiction. That's why we're here this evening. The first thing I'd like to do, I know it's kind of confusing to really understand how we got where we are and why so many people are dying from prescription drugs. So I'd like to share with you guys a video that explains it very simplistic so you can understand why we got where we are. And how do I make it? Nope. Let's go back. But there's no volume. Hold on. Oh, shoot. Hold on.
Several stories to highlight the issue. Many of you have personal experiences with it. I have a personal connection. It's a story that affects newborn babies. We're going to look at a new drug infiltrating the San Diego market that is incredibly powerful. But to give you some perspective, I wanted to let you know how we got here in the first place. In 1996, OxyContin, now one of the most abused painkillers, hit the market after getting FDA approval. Its maker, Purdue Pharma, spent millions of dollars to incentivize doctors to prescribe it. 4 Oxy sales had jumped 2,000%, and Purdue Pharma was making $1 billion. In fact, Oxy was a third of the prescriptions that were being written at the time. In 2002, the LA Times did an investigative piece and found hundreds of doctors were recklessly prescribing, sometimes over the phone, knowing that patients were getting addicted. Dr. Ronit Lev runs the emergency department at Scripps Mercy. Take a listen to what she had to say.
There's a whole focus on pain. California passed several legislation, patients paying Bill of Rights, and we've changed our prescription paths to allow and accommodate for stronger prescriptions. Overnight, we changed from Tylenol with codeine to Vicodin and Percocet that we weren't able to do before. And we were told that only 1% of people are getting addicted, and if you don't prescribe, then you're not compassionate.
It took a decade for doctors and the feds to catch on. In fact, in the most recent Surgeon General report, the CDC states that opioid painkillers shouldn't be used for more than 3 days and provides no benefit to chronic pain. San Diego has done its part to step up awareness. They've created a prescription drug task force, more public events to collect unwanted medications. There are school presentations about overdoses. There's even a patient database aimed at eliminating doctor shopping. With a few clicks, a physician can tell if their patient has been going around to different offices trying to hoard pills.
I've been threatened to be sued or fired. We've had physicians said, if you don't give me my drugs, I'm going to accuse you of rape. Well, that still is going on. But since we've instituted those guidelines, we have way less of that type of demanding type of aberrant behavior to getting their opioid prescriptions in the emergency department because we set a unified standard.
It's important to know that Oxycontin isn't the only opioid that Americans are getting addicted on. There are several others. And as you'll see in these stories that I'm working on, there's growing groups of people who are getting addicted, including our youngest, newborns. I'm also going to explore a new drug that's coming into San Diego from Mexico that's 100 times more powerful than morphine. Stay tuned.
So I think that video kind of explains to you how we got where we are with hundreds of pills in the medicine cabinets of families across the United States. There was easy access. And without education about how addictive and how powerful these drugs were, people were sharing their drugs, giving their drugs freely to other people, not understanding that they were exposing their loved ones to possible addiction and dependency on these drugs. And so at this point, right now, I would like to introduce a mom who had lost her son, and she had the Chico connection, and her name is Sandy Nolan. And so I'd like to ask you to give her a warm welcome, and let's see Sandy.
Okay. So I am actually really happy to be back in Chico. Not this son, but one of his younger brothers. Went to Chico State for 5 years, had a great time. He was president of his fraternity, and I heard that you guys are here. Blows me away. Sigma Pi. That's super awesome, and I'm going to be really happy to tell him about that. Chico was such a big part of our lives, and we enjoyed it so much. I know you guys have a really good time here. I remember him sending me a video of sofas being lit on fire out in the middle of the streets. Do you guys still do that? No? Pretty crazy. Anyway, I'd never seen anything like that. I'm going to apologize for getting emotional because looking at his face still. really tough. I am very proud to be a part of the Hope Foundation. Sherry and I met because of our mutual, well, our sons both overdosed. My son didn't make it, and Aaron did. It's been 9 years, and this is still how I feel.
And I think that's what we need to understand is that I know a lot of times as individuals we feel our actions only affect us, but they don't. They affect everyone who cares about us. They affect our family. They affect our community. And it is an everlasting void. It is an everlasting effect in our hearts and in our minds and in our families and in our communities. And that's why Sandy's here. And she's going to share a little bit about Jerry's journey and hopefully to inspire you guys, you know, to help anyone that you know that's struggling, yourself if you feel like you're kind of gone off the grid and using a little bit too much of a substance, to get help. And that's why Sandy's here. So she's going to share Jerry's story, and in an effort to inspire you to invest in yourself, invest in your life, and invest into your health. So go ahead.
So Sherry and I, because of what we've been through, we know lots and lots of parents, probably a lot more than the average parent, parents that have gone through this, either had a child that overdosed, whether they made it or they didn't, or they're still struggling. And I will tell you the one thing we all have in common is that we never thought it would happen to us. And the one thing that all those kids have in common is they never thought they would get addicted. My son was just a regular guy. He had 3 little brothers who absolutely adored him. He had passions and aspirations. He loved snowboarding. He was actually a very talented musician, scuba diver, sailing, and fishing, big water guy. He actually, we found out later that he had started using opiates in high school. And he made it through, he actually, from high school, went off to college, got his film degree, got a job, was supporting himself, and he was just very careful to not get physically addicted. He felt like he had control of the drug rather than the other way around. And somehow, for whatever reason, he did it too close together and got physically addicted. I mean, this is 3 years later that he was actually got physically addicted. He lasted only a month at his job, had to quit, couldn't deal with it. We moved him back home. This drug is not like alcohol. Alcohol pretty much picks and chooses who it's going to affect, who's going to become an alcoholic. It depends a lot on your genetic makeup, I believe. I think that's what most people believe. Opiates, not the case. It is very physically addictive. When you take enough of it, you will become addicted. Doesn't matter what your genetic makeup is. You will become addicted if you take enough. And what happened to him, though, is even though he wasn't physically addicted, he was psychologically addicted that whole time. Obviously, he wouldn't have kept doing it. He basically called it a planned vacation, and he thought he had complete control. When he had actually lost 2 friends, one to an OxyContin overdose, one to a heroin overdose. That wasn't enough to stop him from using. He wasn't physically addicted at that point. That wasn't enough to stop him. After he became physically addicted, we moved him back home. He quit his job. We moved him back home. I watched him detox at least 5 times, which if anybody's ever seen anything like it, you cannot believe what it looks like. It's 7 days of their bones aching so much he would be laying on the ground. You're completely freezing, so he kept jumping in the bathtub. He did a drug-free detox. That's what a drug-free detox looks like. But, the ones with drugs don't look that much better. There's not a lot they can do for them. And, after I'm throwing up for 7 days. I mean, just throwing up everything. You would think, after I watched that, I thought, well, okay, we're good, because he's never going to do that again. Who would ever want to take the chance of having to go through that again? In 2 weeks or so, he would be right back doing it again. It was just, there was no sense to it at all. He's, like a complete crazy person, basically. He ended up, over the next year and a half, went to rehab 4 times. We spent about $80,000. Our insurance didn't cover inpatient. It only covered outpatient at the time. It's Kaiser. Can't put a heroin addict in outpatient. You're wasting your time. We spent Christmas Day in rehab with him, visiting him. We spent the following Thanksgiving with him in rehab. That's what our family did for the next year and a half. The longest he ever stayed sober was about 5 months. So my son Sean was up here at Chico when I had the horrible task of having to call him and tell him that his brother had died. And his fraternity was extremely supportive. Thanks, guys. And I'm so glad you're here. It really actually made me very emotional that you guys are here. Pardon me? Was it on Christmas? Well, Christmas was when I checked him in Christmas morning. That was the first time he went to rehab. But, I know from Sean's experience here that there was, he graduated in 2011, there was a lot of OxyContin use at that time. Sounds like it hasn't changed much. He even had a roommate that he had to call his mom and pick him up because they were very concerned that they were going to walk in his room and find him dead. And after losing his brother, he couldn't stand the thought of that. And, that's something that was pretty tough for him because you don't rat out your friends. But he, again, had the support of his other roommates, and he had the support of his fraternity to do it because they were all seriously concerned about his life. And he is alive today. I'm not sure if he's sober, but he has had the opportunity to go to rehab, and I hope he's doing well. The one thing I want to leave you guys with is what opiate addiction looks like. Because, as I said, my son went 3 years with being addicted, and we didn't know. We didn't know he was addicted. I mean, we didn't know he was using. And that is, we all know what somebody who's drunk looks like. We know who somebody that's stoned on pot looks like. But somebody who's taking opiates, they look pretty normal. And they can fool you for a pretty long time. And as a matter of fact, they get kind of happy. Sometimes somebody who was pretty shy and withdrawn, all of a sudden they're pretty outgoing and they're wanting to do things because those dopamine levels have just gone through the roof and they haven't experienced that before. So I want you guys to carry this with you. If you have roommates or friends or brothers or sisters who are starting to use OxyContin and you're starting to wonder, maybe it's not so bad. Maybe you really can control it. Maybe you can use it as a party drug and not have it, take you down that road. It's just a matter of time. It will get you. And don't think that we're lying to you. We really know what we're talking about. It's a bad, bad drug. But thank you so much. I'm sorry I got emotional about it, but the reality is. Okay.
All right. So, why are we here? Same thing that Trisha said. My son Aaron was here in Chico. He had a great time. He chose not to get an education. He actually joined a fraternity. He was a social host. He was very popular, as always, throughout his whole life. But sadly, for Aaron, addiction took a hold of him. And so we said, either you stay here and pay for your own way to go to school, or you come home. And, of course, he came home. So Aaron actually started in high school using prescription drugs. His buddy Brad also went here at Chico, and he was supposed to come and speak to you guys, but he wasn't able to make it. But he sent me these photos. You could see Aaron there. He's the big guy, and Brad is next to him. And Brad's addiction went completely out of control as well. He overdosed 16 times. He was ran over by his friend with a truck. You can see the tire marks on the back of his sweatshirt, and that's when he was in the hospital. Fortunately for Brad, he survived, not unscathed. He still deals with his addiction every single day. And this is real. This is real. It's like someone that starts eating cake, once a month, and then they eat it once a week, and then they eat it, twice a week, and then they gain weight. You don't see it happening at the beginning, and you think that it's, it's okay and that you can control it. But sadly, with opioids, especially opioids, they are so powerful and so addictive. Depending on your chemical makeup in your body, it's not if, it's just when they take over your brain and your physical being. And that's why we're here. More than 52,000 Americans died in 2015. The majority cause was opiates. In the last few years, more people have died from opioid unintentional deaths than soldiers have died in the last 3 wars. And this is you guys. In 2015, almost 68% of your deaths by drugs were opioid-induced. 32% was another type of drug. That's reason for deep concern, deep concern. And then on our next chart, women are taking over. The girls are absolutely dying. They're more percentage there than the men, or it could be just about even, which is really concerning because usually girls are a little bit more cautionary, but it doesn't look like that here. The average age of death is between 19 and 30 in Butte County. That would be you guys. And now I think I'm going to introduce Aaron. And Aaron, are you ready? Yeah? All right. Let's bring him out. And for the life of me, I can't remember what fraternity he was a part of. He told me, he also, wink, wink, showed me the secret handshake. And he said, never tell anyone. And here's Aaron. You can say hi. Go ahead. So the first thing I always like to ask Aaron is, Aaron, did you want to be here today? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Yes. Because Aaron has a choice of what he does with his day and his time, and I always ask him when we are invited places, and he had a resounding yes, to be back here. And so with that, that's why we're here. Aaron, would you say that you started using drugs before you got to Chico? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Yes. And did they accelerate here? Did you use more here? Yes. And Aaron was the social host for, I'm not sure, the fraternity that the Walmart guy belonged to. I'm not sure which one that was. I remember him telling me that. Like the owner of Walmart was part of this fraternity, right? Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not sure what it is. If you guys know, I don't know. But we're going to share this video with you, I think.
He would tell you drugs.
Oh, I touched something. What did I do?
He experienced none of his
Okay, here we go.
Talk. He would tell you drugs ruined his life. If he could walk, he would run to every teenager with a sobering warning.
We were at the point when he was in ICU. We signed organ donation papers. And just to give you an idea how toxic and how powerful the overdose was that he experienced, none of his organs could be donated because they had been so destroyed from the overdose.
That overdose happened in 2005 when Aaron was just 23. The drug that almost killed him, Oxycontin, a legal pain medication that at the time was being prescribed like candy.
At the time, Purdue Pharma was making 160 milligram tablets, stronger than black tar heroin.
When crushed and smoked, opioids are as strong as heroin, which explains why heroin usage also spiked recently. It's cheaper and easier to access.
We've almost lost a whole generation because we had these deadly, powerful prescription drugs in medicine cabinets across the United States of America, and we had no idea.
Fox 5 first sat down with Sherry and her son Aaron 5 years ago as they launched a countywide and countrywide speaking tour to teenagers. Aaron was one of the lucky ones. He survived. Since his overdose in 2005, 2,500 people in San Diego County have died of an opioid overdose. It's an addiction that knows no racial, social, or economic boundaries, and has become so problematic. Almost everybody knows somebody affected. You see, Aaron was my high school boyfriend.
I think we're really good at hiding it.
18-year-old Chad Ramirez agreed to talk to us candidly about the problem at his high school, which he doesn't want to reveal. He says he doesn't pop pills, but he knows it happens in the hallway.
So, yeah, that was Aaron's girlfriend. Yeah. Yeah, that was Aaron, boy, I tell you. So, yeah, she's been completely supportive. She's a news anchor at Fox 5 in San Diego, and she's been an advocate as far as having the station do a lot of stories on Oxycontin addiction and opioids. So we're real thankful to Jen about that, and Aaron is always excited to see her. Yes. Some things don't change no matter how long you're in a coma with a man, okay? So he still loves pretty women. Yeah, that's always true, right, Aaron? Yeah, yeah. So I think for the most part, Aaron, when you were using, like you were working out every day, yeah? Yeah, you were strong. Yeah. Handsome. Yeah. You look good in the mirror, yeah? Yeah. So I think sometimes we look at ourselves and we look in the mirror and we think, yeah, I'm strong, I'm healthy, I look good. But yet we don't understand what we're doing on the weekends and how it's damaging us on the inside, how it's affecting our organs. Because when Aaron overdosed, they did some testing after they gave him naloxone, which we'll talk about in a little bit, Narcan, and they did MRIs and things of that nature and CAT scans, and he had prior damage in his liver, in his kidneys, and in his brain. He had dead areas in his brain from prior drug use, not from this overdose, but from other times that he had done. And Aaron, you started using when you were in the 10th grade, yeah? Yeah, you were 16. How about that? Okay, 16. All right. And then during high school, did you pretty much just use on the weekends after football games, things like that? Yes. Aaron was a defensive back. He was a strong safety. And there were, constantly after Friday night football games, we'd have the constant fight about alcohol, right? Yes. And other than that, I really had no idea that anything else was going on. But unbeknownst to me, you started using Percocet, raise it up, Somas for muscle relaxers, yeah. Norco, yep. He started using the benzodiazepines and the opioids for muscle aches and pains, injuries, sprained fingers, sprained ankles, as an athlete. And for Aaron in San Diego and the guys that did the same thing, they would just go to Tijuana. They just go across the border. They get it. Back in those days, you didn't need to doctor shop. You didn't need to go here and there. You just, especially with San Diego being your hometown, you could just go across the border. And so that's what he did. And the more you buy, the cheaper it was in Mexico. So that's what he started with. And it was primarily on the weekends. Would you agree? Yeah. So, then he graduated, and then he went to Mesa Vista Junior College for a year, and you played football, right? Yes. And then he came up here. So in about 2002 is when he came up here, right? Yeah. And so everything kind of escalated from there, yeah, Aaron? Yeah. So what you have to understand is he overdosed in 2005. If he graduated in 2000, then 2008, he used maybe on the weekends, off and on, right? So then he comes up here. You do more partying up here. Yeah. But that was really only like a year. And then he came home and he went to outpatient and inpatient programs. And my point is that within that short period of time, he had already damaged his organs. He had already damaged his brain. He had dead infarcts in his brain, which means dead brain cells. His kidneys had showed that they were not functioning and dead. All parts of his body had been affected, even though he looked gosh darn good and he felt gosh darn strong. It was still harming him inside. And so we want to caution you, just like you want to eat organic, you want to be vegan, you guys, what you put in your body in the same aspect with partying does take its toll on your organs. And so, sometimes we don't think that way because we look good, we feel strong, and we think, oh, we're just partying on the weekends and we're okay. But your liver gets a hit, your kidneys get a hit, your brain gets a hit, and those things, it's very difficult to repair them. Very, very difficult. So we ask you to invest in your health, invest in what you put in your body. We certainly want you to have fun, but there's a lot of ways to have fun. And you don't have to put your health at risk. And Aaron, would you agree? Raise it up. If you could go back, would you drink and do drugs and party? 1 for yes, 2 for no. No. It has taken a lot from him. And if he had the chance, he would never do that again. And so we want to share Aaron's thoughts with you and caution you that this does happen. I know many families that their kids have overdosed from drugs of many different types, especially opioids. that are physically and mentally challenged in varying degrees than Aaron. At least 50 families I know. You may not see it because it takes a tremendous amount of courage and a tremendous amount of emotional health and well-being and strength for the families and the individuals to come out and talk to you about it. But this happens, and it can happen. Aaron, did you ever think when you were using and when you were in your addiction that this would ever happen to you? 1 for yes, 2 for no. No. And I know you guys don't think that it could happen. This never entered your mind. Why? Because it never entered my mind. When Aaron was struggling, what did I think? Oh my God, my son's going to be an addict the rest of his life. Oh my God, he's going to be driving his car and he's going to hit someone. Pull your shirt down. No dancing today. Yeah, he always wanted to be a dancer, he said. He goes, they make a lot of money, Mom. He's all about the money, this guy. Yeah. Yeah. So what did I think? 1,000,000 times a day, all those thoughts going in my mind when my son was struggling with addiction. I thought, oh my God, he's going to be an addict the rest of his life. Oh my God, he's going to be driving this car or truck. He's going to be impaired. He's going to kill someone. He's going to be in prison the rest of his life. Oh my God, my son is going to die. Never in those millions of thoughts that I had in my brain while he was struggling did this scenario ever come into my mind. Ever. And so that's why I know you don't think it can happen, because I didn't think it can happen, and Aaron certainly didn't think it could happen. But it happens a lot. And so we want to caution you. Caution you and educate you so that you can empower yourself to make the choice of what you want to put in your body. Because it's your choice. I'm not going to stand here, and Aaron's not going to sit here and tell you not to party, not to do drugs. We hope you don't. But it's your life. You're the one that's going to have to deal with the consequences of your choice. Because guess what? We get to pick our actions, right? We get to pick our actions, but guess what? We don't get to pick our consequences. We don't get to pick our consequences. And in 1,000,000 years, Aaron never thought, in 1,000,000 thoughts, that this would ever happen to him. And so the worst thing that you could ever think that could happen because of your choice, forget about it. There's a whole other thing that's 100 times worse that you have never even thought of. And it can happen. So we just want to share that with you and enlighten you that that this can happen. Especially, how many you guys know about opiates, yeah? You guys know what opiates are, yeah? Hydrocodone, Percocet, Norco, Oxycontin, hydrocodone, blah, blah, blah. Heroin, right? Fentanyl, right? You may feel good when you take it, but do you actually know that it is a depressant? It's a depressant. It depresses your organs. Alcohol, you feel good, right? It's a depressant. Benzodiazepines, somas, they relax your muscles. They're depressant. You combine all of those, it's a death cocktail. You go to sleep, your oxycontin explodes because it's time release. Then you have your soma that explodes. Then you have your alcohol that's already in your system. Boom. What happened to Aaron? He had a heart attack. Yep. Stopped every major organ in his body. Shut down his lungs. Stopped the oxygen to his brain. Had 2 strokes, front and back, both sides of his brain. That's what opioids do. And if you mix them with something else, forget it. So if you see anyone, which we'll go over, that's nodding off at a party, that's, slurring their speech, not who they are, do not let them go to sleep. This is not like cocaine. This is not like LSD. This is not like any other drugs. You go to sleep and you will not wake up. They need to go to the ER. They need naloxone. They need to get help. Because if they go to sleep, they more than likely will not wake up. It's really important. And that's why we brought some things which we're going to be auctioning off, is like little alcohol detectors. So if you have a friend or someone that's like impaired and they're really not themselves and they breathe into that alcohol detector and there is no alcohol detected, they need to go to the ER because that means they're using opioids. And if they go to sleep, then they're probably not going to wake up. So that was Aaron's driver's license. That's how big he was. Aaron, this is something new I added because I found it in your little box. You want to see it? Remember that guy? Yeah. He used to drive his motorcycle around, his white beater, just cruising. Remember that, Aaron? Yeah. He loved that motorcycle. Yeah. Stuck again. Oh my God. What happened? Aaron was up here going to Chico, and it wasn't working out. There's too much partying going on, yeah? Oh, no? You wanted more? Yeah? Oh, my God. Okay. So, anyway, let me back it up. Hold on. So he came home, and when he did come home, he said to his dad, he said, you know, I really need help. I have a drug problem. And so he asked for help. I mean, us as parents were clueless. I mean, we knew he was spending money, but Aaron, did we really know what was going on? One for yes, two for no. No. Parents are clueless, okay? So we said, absolutely, of course. You know, we want to help you. And so at that time, he went to outpatient, right? AA, counselors, psychiatrist, you know, all the things that we knew to do for him. And Aaron, that worked for a while, yeah? Well, for a short period. Yeah. And then did you start using again? Yes. And then, so we kind of went back and forth with that for about a year. And then he came to us again, and he said, this isn't working. I need to go to residential rehab. You guys know what residential rehab is? Where you go and you stay with professionals that are schooled and educated in the disease of addiction, help you manage your disease and triggers, and psychologically go and talk, like maybe why you're using and all this kind of stuff. So you went there, and he did very well. He was a leader there, just like he was everywhere. And at the time, the protocol was, you know, it was 7 months. It was time for him to, you know, he graduated throughout the program and then got a job and then was a mentor and things of that nature. And then the protocol then was, you know, it's time for you to go back to school and start going back into life, keep your support systems, go call your sponsor, go to meetings, that kind of thing. At that time, which was 2004, the science of opioid addiction and treatment had not merged. They did not understand opioid addiction. They were treating it like illicit drug or alcohol addiction, which is not the way to treat opioid addiction. So, you know, he came home, and Aaron, you tried to isolate and stay inside, yeah, away from people that were using, yes. And he went to some meetings and things of that nature, and then probably 3 months after he was home, he was a godchild for one of his very best friends who had had a baby, and it was the kid's first birthday, and they were having it Dave & Buster's, right? Yeah. And so he went there, and the dad, his friend Chris, by all accounts, afterwards, told me that he wasn't drinking. He had a great time. He was really supportive, and it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure. So, but during that time, there was a couple of kids that he used to, or young men that he used to party with, and they found out that he was at Dave & Buster's, and they came over to him and they said, "Hey, Reuben, let's go there. You know, there's a party. There's a party up in Ramona. You know, let's go." And Aaron told him, "No, I'm not going to go. You know, no, I'm here. It's my godkid's birthday party, right?" And so then they went off in a different section, and then they came back about another hour, and they said, "Hey, Reuben, let's go. Let's go to Mexico. Let's get some somas. Let's go to the party. We can make some money. We can sell them, you know." And Aaron said, no, I'm not going to go. And then another hour later, as I'm told, is the party was winding down, and everyone was leaving, and then they came back. Is that correct there? Yeah, they came back. And then Aaron said, "Well, I'll go with you, but I'm not going to party. You know, he really felt like because he went to rehab and stuff like that, that he had the tools, that he could be in that environment and control it. Is that true? Yes. And so, you know, so he went with them. I think they bought some stuff in Mexico. Is that correct? No, you didn't go to Mexico that night. Okay, you just went to the party. Yeah. So they had already, I guess, gone to Mexico, or it was too late for Mexico. I don't know. So they went to the party in Ramona. Then he spent the night with a friend that that he had known since he was 8 years old. And he spent the night with them. And we were calling him the next morning, Sunday. Our kids were older and getting married, and you know, we had a couple grandkids, and we try to meet on Sunday for breakfast just to connect a couple times during the month, you know. And we kept calling his cell phone, and there was no answer, and no answer. And you know, so we all ordered, and then we were just about getting our food, and my husband got a phone call on his cell phone saying, Aaron's not breathing, he's in the hospital. And so, you know, all I remember is like the food just flew up in the air. Everybody was quiet. I don't know if they were really quiet, but in my mind, it was just all silence. And fortunately for us, the hospital was only 4 blocks away from where we were having our breakfast. And when we arrived in the emergency room, we came in screaming and yelling, where's our son? How's our son? And the emergency room doctor said, I'm sorry, you're going to lose your son today. And we saw Aaron. His shirt was off. He had no shoes. His pants were down to his hips. His boxers were here. He was scraped up all over his body. And he was lifeless, laying on a steel gurney. And my husband and I just grabbed onto each other, fell against the hospital wall, and just landed on the floor. And the ER doctor said, you know, we don't know why he's like this. And my husband said, it's drugs, it's drugs, it's drugs. And then he said, it's drugs. The people that brought him in didn't say it was drugs. And he's like, it's drugs, it's drugs, it's drugs. And at that point, they administered the Narcan. They got a faint breath and a faint heartbeat. They put him on life support. And then they took him up and took x-rays and MRIs to see the damage that was done. All of his organs were destroyed. He was on complete life support. And they really told us that, you know, they assumed that we would withdraw care in a few days from him. While he was in ICU, he experienced another heart attack, another stroke. He had pneumonia. He had staph. He had seizures. It was extremely painful to watch his body suffer. On day 10, they said, you know, we're not getting any response from him. We would advocate for you to withdraw care and unplug him from life support. And, you know, I said, you know, that's your number. That's not my number. I'm not going to withdraw him from care. And because of the overdose, also, this is how devastating OxyContin is. His brainstem was damaged, and I don't know if you even know about your brainstem. I certainly didn't even think about mine until this happened to my son. It regulates a lot of things in your body. It regulates your temperature, all kinds of things. And because of the damage of the drugs, his brainstem was not functioning. So what happened to Aaron, that meant that he could not control, there we go, okay, that's about the 5th time. He couldn't control his body's temperature. His body could not control its temperature. So his body went to death-defying temperatures of heat, like 116, 120, where they literally had to stop his heart, put him on an ice bed, and hope that when they restarted his heart, it would start. That happened twice. And then other times, he wouldn't heat up. And so they'd have to put heat on him and heating blankets and things of that nature. So that is just another instance of how it really impacted Aaron physically. He had seizures, and at one time he had a seizure and he was biting his tongue. And there was a gal that worked in the ICU. She was a veteran ICU nurse. And I happened to be there. And she said, oh, my God, he's biting his tongue. He bit half his tongue off. And she took this metal thing and she, just jabbed it in his mouth because he was clenching down so hard, and literally knocked out a tooth and a half of his. And then they taped up his mouth like something unbelievable because they didn't want him to have another seizure or bite down and bite his tongue again. And I kind of suggested, why not we just put a mouth guard or something in? Instead of putting him in this horrific, it was horrible. It tortured me to even look at him with the thing that they did to him. And then when we literally unbandaged him, Aaron, show your tongue. Can you stick it out? There's his tongue. He didn't bite it off. It's there, just a tiny little sliver, but it's just you really, this is something that you really don't want to experience. And literally, he was at the mercy of those people in ICU. He was at the mercy of those people. We were his advocate, and we fought hard for him. That's why he's here today. But you are literally at the mercy of people. And Aaron is fortunate that his father works hard. He has a good career. He has a great business. And he is not selfish. And he's very generous. And every day he goes to work extremely hard to make sure that Aaron has the best day possible with the best equipment and the best help that we can have for Aaron. But the majority of people that I know that have overdosed that are in varying degrees of what Aaron is struggling with, either their families can't emotionally handle it, mentally and physically, because it is extremely difficult. I've had my breakdown. I've had my days. And two, they can't financially afford it. We're here with, where are you, Adrian? Come here, Adrian. Adrian, where are you? He's going to hide. But we cannot do this without Adrian that's here, who is Aaron's caregiver and friend. And then we have another caregiver as well. For Aaron's care for the month, for him to be at home, is roughly $8,000 a month. Not a lot of families could afford that. I took care of him for 3 years myself until I couldn't any longer emotionally, mentally, or physically with my back. And then Aaron, of course, did you like me coming to all your therapies? 1 for yes, 2 for no. No. Okay? Because I'm always going to be the mom. I don't care how old you are, your parent, your mom, it's always going to be your mom, and your dad is always going to be your dad, right? So when we would go to therapy, I'd be, come on, Aaron, you can do it, or doing this stuff and talking to the therapist. And honestly, Aaron needs to have that relationship with the therapist. I may not be here all the time, So he needs to have that relationship with his therapist. He needs to be able to communicate. They need to learn to communicate with him. So in all fairness, you know, he doesn't want me going. He, you know, if he would have got injured and he had his own life and he had a broken leg, he'd be going to therapy on his own. I wouldn't be there with him, you know. So we have the financial ability to allow him to go with a caregiver, you know. And so you like that much better, yeah? That I don't come. 1 for yes, 2 for no. Yeah. So, you know, so it's extremely expensive. It's extremely emotionally and mentally taxing. You know, I'm sure a lot of you maybe have friends that are disabled or their family members or someone that you know. And it's hard. And it's hard every day. But how difficult it is for me, I look at Aaron and I know it's 100 times more difficult for him. And so I buck up and I do the best I can every day. And he does the same. Yeah? Yeah. So, is it okay if I share the story of when you overdosed at your friend's house? Okay, so I told you a little bit, right? That we were calling the phone and then didn't answer, and then someone called and his friend called and said, you know, Aaron's at the hospital, he's not breathing. Well, in between that time, we have cell phone records from his cell phone. What happened was, as we were calling his phone, it alerted the mom. He was sleeping on the couch at his friend's house, and this is a family that he had known since he was 8 years old. He was 23 when he overdosed, so a very long time. And so it alerted the mom, and so she went over to him, and she saw him blue and non-responsive. I know this because she told me this in the waiting room of the emergency room. So she went to the freezer, and she took ice out, and she threw it on him. She then pounded on his chest. By this time, the father and son are alerted because she's screaming, and someone uses his cell phone to call the pharmacy in Tijuana where the drugs were purchased, maybe looking for an antidote or something like that. I really don't know. Then the next call is to a friend who was an EMT that Aaron went to school with, and they ask him, you know, what should we do? He says, call 911. Hello? They still do not call 911. At this point, Aaron is not breathing, blue and non-responsive. So the father and son drag him to the car, and you saw how big he was, right? They drag him, they throw him in the back seat, then they drive like 12 minutes to the nearest hospital. So at this point, they've now wasted about 22 minutes, where if they would have called 911, Aaron would have got oxygen to his brain in under 6, okay, probably faster. He would have got oxygen to his brain. When she told me that story, and I was sitting in the emergency room, I asked her to please leave, and that I never want to see you again. But it's a cautionary tale. What do people do when someone is overdosing and they have drugs in their home? They panic, and we are animals. It's fear and flight. So if you think you're going to be at a party and someone's going to look out for you, if something goes bad, Aaron, will they have your back? 1 for yes, 2 for no. No. So we caution you to surround yourself with people that you know that, and put yourself in environments that will not put you at danger, will not put you at risk, because you cannot count on anyone else looking after for you. After all, if everybody's impaired, are they going to make the right decisions? I don't think so. I know adults that are impaired don't make the right decisions. It's just the way it is. So you need to think about that. You need to understand that. Because how tragic Aaron's story is, at least they brought him to the hospital, right? I mean, to die. But I know so many families that their kids were just left to die because another kid had a warrant or they had an outstanding something or others. They didn't call 911, or they dump them in the fields, dump them on the side of the road. Horrific. Horrific. But people that are impaired do not make the right decisions. So we caution you. We caution you to put yourself in surroundings that are healthy and fun, but healthy. And to not think that someone's going to have your back, especially when they're impaired. I try to explain about, Aaron, his life. I mean, I think you get a good sense about who he was and who he is. But he really tried. He tried really hard. He wanted to be better. And it still didn't happen. That's how hard it is. That's how hard it is with opiate addiction. It can happen. Recovery is possible. And you know what? Even if you start and something goes bad, you just keep going again. Keep going again and again, and it can happen. You just have to keep doing the work. And I know this because I have another son that struggled, and he overdosed, and now he's 6 years sober. And he's doing great. He's a supervisor at his work. He's got a girlfriend. Life is good. And that's what can happen when you're sober and you're not held hostage by a substance or an alcohol or a substance. Life is great. So I know this. So you just have to keep trying and keep attempting. It's not easy, but it would be easy. It would be easier if you never go down that path. If you never put that substance in your body, or your brain never gets triggered, that it wants that euphoric thing, because it's so powerful. The brain wants what it wants once it gets started. And it's so hard. It will do everything it can to get what it wants. So Aaron's message, I think it was the fearless change, the road to recovery. He says, the change in my life going on today is the change of having a goal. For the first time in a long time, I have a direction, something to strive for, a reason for myself to not use, a life to create, the change of becoming my own man, individual with a purpose, the change in sobriety, becoming a new person, the person I've been hiding. And oh, really? Man, we've gone, I talked too fast, too much. But, okay, here's a couple more things. Loss of control. Every day I would say today is the day, but it never was. I tried isolating myself, but it only built up my eagerness to use. I sought outside help, confiding in my father, and we tried therapy, which was unsuccessful. I feel attempts are weak and actions are strong. Okay, guys, there it is. The chemical composition of Oxycontin and heroin. When you put Oxycontin in your body, you're putting pharmaceutical-grade heroin in your body. That's the chemical composition. The only difference is the one more line here and over here, H3C, and one up here. And it's important for you guys to know this. Maybe you're not partying. Maybe you're not using it as a party drug. Maybe you're not. But guess what? One day you're going to break your arm. You're going to have surgery. You're going to have a choice. The doctor's going to say you need pain pills. You have many other choices that are effective pain medication besides Oxycontin, besides opioids. You ask for them. You invest in your own health. You ask for a pain reliever that is not opioid-based, that will not put you at risk for another disease, the disease of addiction. It's your life, it's your body, you ask. You have every reason and every, what do I want to say, choice to ask for something different that is not going to put you at risk for addiction. Pain pill, opioid pain pills work. Pain pills kill more than pain. And I want you to remember that. And this is Oxycontin, oxycodone. We've already talked about how it shuts down your body, your system, because it's a depressant, just like alcohol. You combine those two and heroin, same thing. It is a death cocktail. But I do want you to know about the Good Samaritan law we have here in California. If you see someone that's nodding off, not themselves, you call 911. You're not going to be prosecuted at the, if there's drugs there and things like that. So you need to, save a life, look it up. And then also my belief is that anyone that has an opioid in their home should have naloxone. Or if you know someone that's an opioid addict, you need to have naloxone. You don't need a prescription for it. You can get it at any pharmacy and other harm reduction areas. They will give you a naloxone kit and train you how to use it. You can use it nasally or injection. And, how can you prevent opioid addiction and overdose deaths? Well, you secure and you lock up your medications, you properly dispose of them, and you don't share them. You call 911 and you use naloxone. And our next Take Back Day is coming up, National Take Back Day, April 29th. And 129 people die a day, and all of these kids didn't think it would happen to them. And there we have it. And do we have time for questions? Okay. So Erin always likes to have questions. Sandy, come on out. The fraternity mama. Okay, don't leave, guys.
I would love it.
Okay. So do you guys have questions? I know Erin always loves to answer questions. And I know you have them. And we have, prizes, like gift cards. Can you hand me the gift cards, Adrian? They're in Sandy's purse. Okay. He was coming to take pictures. Okay.
Do you have a resource for someone who does have chronic pain, other things to use besides opioids?
Actually, yes. If you go to the CDC website, there's a lot of information on there and on NIDA. But, I know that a lot of people that I've talked to, they do a lot of chiropractor, they do massage, they do all kinds of other things. But there are some other medications that are not addictive that, I don't know if you guys watched on Fox. I don't know what kind of town we're in. But on Fox, there was a special on opioids, and Dr. Andrew Kolodny, who happens to be my friend, he's a great resource, and he has a whole list of 50 alternative medications. He's a doctor for opioid responsible prescribing. And you could always Google him and his website, and his email is public because he does a lot of things like that. So, Dr. Andrew Kolodny. And if you Google Fox 5 opioids, it was just on yesterday. So, Oh, raise your hand. One more time, dear. Thank you. He's going to give you a gift card.
How often do you guys go around to different schools and areas? So if we have a particular one we'd like you guys to visit, my brother goes to his school and I'd like him to see this presentation. But how do we get in contact with that? And you guys going to places?
Oh, you just go to the website. There's, I'll put my cards out there, Sandy's cards out there, and Erin's email is out there, and I didn't put my card out there, but you just email, and then we go from there, and we work it out that way. Okay.
How do you as a mom handle the stress that it all in all the day-to-day?
How do I handle you on a day-to-day basis, Erin, huh? How do I? Yeah. Yeah. I try to do the best I can every day. There are some days I'm not my best. Is that right, Erin? Yeah. Some days I'm tired. Sometimes I get frustrated. And sometimes I say, Erin, I'm so frustrated, right? And then I'm like, I'm sorry. I know you must be far more frustrated than me. And then I cry. And then that's it, So, I think my personality is to take control of a situation. Yeah. I think we all have different personalities. My personality is, as soon as he went into ICU and they told me he had a brain injury, I started reading all about brain injury. I wanted to learn everything I could about the brain injury, and I wanted to take control of a situation I had no control of. I wanted to learn as much as I could and to be his advocate. And that's kind of the position where I come from, is to be his advocate. And, we've always had a pretty good relationship. Yeah, Erin? Yeah. Out of my 4 kids, he's the only one that said, hey, Mom, I want to take you to lunch for your birthday, even though I paid. But we would always go and have sushi and stuff. But, he always wanted to take that time to sit, and talk and have that. And he did that with his friends and his friends' parents. I mean, he was, so there are hard days. I'm not my best. There are days that Aaron's not his best as well, right? No? Oh, of course. No, you're always perfect, right, Aaron? Yes or no? Yes. But, you do the best you can, and that's all we can do when we're thrown with adversity and things that we did not plan. We do the best we can, and then on days that I know that I'm not going to be the best I can for Aaron, then I tell my husband, you know what, you are going to take care of him tonight. You are going to do that, because I don't want to put him through unnecessarily emotional situations, because it's hard for him to express how he feels. But, a lot of times if I'm upset and I'm crying, what do you do, Aaron? Yeah, and he'll pat me on my head, and then I just melt, and I'm like, okay, it's a good day, right? Yeah, so, we do the best we can, and Sandy does the best she can every day. She misses her son every day, but I'll let Sandy speak to that.
Sherry and I are actually both really lucky because we have a lot to be thankful for. I had 4 kids, thank God. So I've got 3 diversions to help me. My son who went here, he also met his wife here, who is pregnant with her.
She's going to be a grandma.
Even though we do this, and
yeah.
we are immersed in this,
yeah.
we definitely focus on the positives.
On life. Yeah. Yeah.
So thank God, I actually, you don't know, but I do know one person that lost her only son. I can't even be a support group for her. I don't even know what to say.
Yeah.
That would be horrible. So, yeah, I'm focusing on good things. A lot of good things.
How has it been for both Aaron and Jerry, siblings, and dealing with both aspects of it?
You speak first.
Our family has changed a lot. My husband and I are still married. Certainly we've seen a lot of marriages break up over this because you try to figure out what happened. I know I was a stay-at-home mom, as Sherry was, so I was definitely there. My husband worked a lot, but I know it wasn't his fault. I don't know how Jerry did that. But yeah, it's.
I'll speak to our family. It'll never be the same. It will never be the same. And although the siblings all love Aaron, he was the big brother. He has an older sister who's 5 years older. She'll be 40 this year. Aaron's 35, and then I have another son that's 34, and another one that's going to be 33. So I had like a little pack of puppies with the boys. Crazy puppies. But it'll never be the same because he was the older brother. And although he tormented them, they still respected him and revered him, and he was the strong big brother. He always protected them as well. Only he could beat the shit out of them. Okay, so it was very, very sad for them. My one son, the middle son, moved to Arizona probably 5 months after he overdosed when we were in a brain injury facility. And I think part of it was just because he wanted to get away. My other son overdosed 2 years to the day, my youngest son, of Aaron's overdose. And thank goodness he was with a friend that called 911, that lifted him up, took everything out of his mouth, and performed CPR before the EMS was there. But he got a tough call from us, my youngest son. So it was either we weren't doing this again. It was not going to happen again. No one else is living in my house. You're going to rehab. You're going to do this. If not, you're on your own, sweetie. Boom. And thank God he's doing well today. It took him 2 times. He was sober about 1.5 years in between times. And I think his ego got to him. He thought because what we didn't address was, you guys, a lot of guys and people that I know that have had addiction to opioids, they're like, oh, well, I'll drink a beer with my guys or my friends. And what I try to explain to them, which I'll explain to you, is that you may see a beer, you may see cocaine, you may see opioids. Your brain doesn't see shit. Your brain only feels the impaired in the euphoria of the drug. So it doesn't know that it's beer. It doesn't know that it's cocaine. It doesn't know that it's pills. You're still reacting in your brain. You're still triggering the addiction in your brain. So, they put themselves at risk. And that's what my son did, my youngest son. He thought, oh, I can have a beer because I'm not doing pills, right? I can smoke pot because I'm not doing pills. Well, it all goes to the same area of the brain. Your brain doesn't see anything. It doesn't have eyeballs. It just feels the euphoria feeling. So he got caught up with that on the second time. And then, thank goodness he did very well, and he's like 6 years sober. And, I hope, but he's doing well as far as I know. So, but yeah, you guys have to really think about that too, because, your brain isn't seeing anything. It's just feeling that impairedness. But our family will never be the same. I spent, with my daughter, it was all about her and her 3 little kids. I always watched my grandkids. I took them shopping, blah, blah, blah. And then as soon as this happened with Aaron, of course, my time and attention went to him. So, any other questions? Go ahead.
So what is the best way to approach someone that you know or someone you love?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's basically you're starting right. You just say, I love you, I care about you, I'm concerned that this is out of control, and I'm here to support you. I'd be happy to take you to talk to a counselor, a therapist, or go into outpatient, but I'm really concerned. I think that's about all you can really do. And I wouldn't take it on, yourself, because obviously I think it's important for you to say what you need to say. Especially if something happened to that individual, you would feel horrible, and that's why a lot of Aaron's friends don't visit him, because they knew exactly what was going on, but they never said anything. And so they feel extremely guilty. And so I think that's about the most you can do is tell them that you're concerned about them and that you're there for them if they want to get help and support. Ultimately, it's their choice.
If you can talk to their parents, though, I mean, cutting off funds is definitely the first thing you do.
Yeah.
But other than that, it really does need to come from them for the most part.
Anyone else? Before? Where is anyone else? Questions?
I guess what would be the greatest accomplishment? I mean, from you advocating, like ultimately, what would bring you some comfort in that hurt and movement that you're making?
Well, I think, Erin, despite the fact that the people you were with, that you've known since you were 8, didn't call 911, do you blame them for the challenges you have today? No. Aaron has always taken responsibility for his actions. He knows the choice that he made set him on a path to be surrounded with other people that are using and will not do the right thing. So he doesn't blame them for his quality of life today. And so instead of being angry at them, of course I'm disappointed. I'm very disappointed that they wouldn't look out for Aaron since they'd known him since he was 8 years old, especially the parents. Both parents were there. But what we did is put that energy into the Good Samaritan law. So we advocated, politically for that, went to Sacramento. Aaron was there. We testified. So that's one of the accomplishments that we did, is to let you guys know that you can call and not be arrested or persecuted for drug possession. So, ultimately what would make me happy is the ability for Aaron to be able to speak and to walk. That would make him, but as a mother, but as our advocating, it's just to continue enlightening and empowering you guys through education to make the right choices and to maybe be a generation that doesn't take a pill first for everything, and to invest in your health and to have a good and great healthy life. Because Aaron, when you were in high school, did you have hopes and dreams that you wanted to do? Can you accomplish those same ones now? No, he can't. But he's here so you can. He's here so you can. So what is the best thing for me is for you guys to take this education, take Jerry's story, take Aaron's story, and have a fabulous life. And don't get sucked in.